Hey, I'm John Cannell. Today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making some easy, amazing red velvet cupcakes. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 350 so it's nice and hot and place 16 cupcake papers in cupcake pans. Now, in a large bowl, I'm using the bowl of my stand mixer, I'm sifting all the dry ingredients, starting with the all-purpose flour, 1 2/3 cups or 200 grams. Perfect. Red velvet cupcakes were originally red because there was some cocoa powder in them. I'm using natural cocoa powder, which is the traditional type to do, but you could use Dutch processed as well. And sifting is normally an optional step, but whenever you have cocoa powder, it's a good idea to sift because it can be really clumpy. I also want 1 cup or 200 grams of granulated sugar to sweeten things up. The sugar is going to sweeten the cupcakes, but it'll also give you a lovely soft texture. To puff things up, I'm using a teaspoon of baking powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. The natural cocoa powder I used is slightly acidic, and later on we have buttermilk, which is another acid. Both of those will react with the baking soda and give you a beautiful puff. Finally, for some contrast, I'm adding a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This gives you a little bit of contrast to pair with the sweetness. If sweet things don't have any salt, you're not gonna taste what's happening. You're just gonna taste sugar. So you always wanna have a bit of salt. Now it's time to sift these out. Rocks aplenty. Oh my God. Cocoa powder dust is real. Grab a whisk. My scale is done. And I'm gonna mix this up to combine. Whisk, whisk, whisk. You can definitely make this recipe with a hand mixer if you want. I just find a stand mixer to be more convenient. This is the fun part. We're gonna use the reverse creaming method for these cupcakes. So get 3/4 of a cup of room temperature butter, cut it into tablespoon-sized pieces, and plop that into the dry ingredients. We're gonna use the paddle attachment to mix this up, and the nice thing is, when you use the reverse creaming method, you're gonna mix the butter and flour up, and that coats all the flour with fat, which prevents the gluten from forming, and it's also a bit of extra insurance for overmixing. You can mix it up a little bit more, but all the flour's been coated by fat, so technically the gluten shouldn't form those bonds and get kind of bready. Little mix to get that along, and add the remaining 1/4 cup in. This is 170 grams in total, and I'm always using unsalted butter in my recipes. Pop on your paddle attachment, and we're gonna mix this on low until a nice sandy mixture forms. This will remind you a bit of making pie dough because we're mixing the flour, sugar, and butter together until we have little granules. It's the same idea, but instead of adding ice water, we'll be adding buttermilk and more liquid. Just a bit of mixing, and this looks so different. It actually looks like sand, even the color. And this is exactly what you want to see, a sandy little granular mixture. Originally, red velvet was a light pink color because the natural cocoa powder would react with the buttermilk, and that would provide just like a little dusty pink color. It's actually very pretty, but very subtle. There's a lot of debate on the origin of the red velvet cupcake. In Victorian times, a velvet cake meant you had a wonderful, silky, beautiful texture. It wasn't gonna be chewy. It was like a perfect cake. So maybe that's where the term came from. These do have a slight pink hue without food coloring, but in modern times, red velvet cupcakes are really amped up with food coloring. You can try using beetroot powder or other things, but food coloring is gonna make it happen. This is ready. I've measured out 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk. All the wet ingredients are gonna get mixed in here, including the food coloring. It's never a best practice to add food coloring into cake batter directly. Always try and add it into the wet ingredients because even with our reverse crumb method, we do not wanna overmix things while we're waiting for the food coloring to work its way through everything. I'm gonna add 3 large room temperature eggs right into the buttermilk. Love that blue color. I'm also adding in 2 tablespoons of vanilla. That's gonna be the last of this homemade batch. If you're at home using gel food coloring, I would use maybe 1 drop. If you're using like water-based food coloring, which is much weaker, several drops. Let's take a look. Give it a mix. I never whisked the eggs up. I was like, oh, it's so thick underneath here. What's going on? There's a lot of eggs in there, John. Okay, so you can see that's giving me like a beautiful like light salmon color. But I want this to be more red for red velvet. Otherwise people will say, what kind of cupcake is this? And you always want to have a deeper color for the liquid than you will for the batter because the batter will dilute the color. Just a little bit more. Normally when I make this cupcake, I use the gel food coloring and you really only use like 3 or 4 drops. This was significantly more for the water-based. Close your mixer up, And we're gonna mix on low once more and slowly add in the wet ingredients. Just add that in gradually so it mixes in nicely, and stop once it is combined. I'm gonna mix it on medium for like 5 seconds. And then back to low. This looks great. You really just need to scrape the bowl down one time at all for this whole recipe. And now we're ready to distribute into our cupcake papers. I'm distributing my batter between my 16 papers. You could make 15 or 14, it's totally up to you. It's not actually very easy to get all the cupcake papers evenly filled. I'm the king of overfilling cupcakes. And this, I feel, is like a nice color for red velvet. I might make 1 or 2 with a little bit of extra food coloring, and you'll see why at the end of this video. But I like this kind of dusty red color. I ended up with 14 cupcakes, and that's fine. You do not have to have 16. I might want to have a sprinkle of crumbs as a final touch for a few of the cupcakes, so I'm gonna add some more red food coloring to a few and mix it in, even though I told you not to do that. My cupcakes are ready to go into the oven, 350 for 15 to 20 minutes, or until they're springy to the touch. In the meantime, we're gonna make the best cream cheese frosting ever. Now, in the bowl of a stand mixer fitted with the paddle attachment, I'm adding 3 sticks, 1.5 cups, 340 grams of unsalted room temperature butter. Full disclosure, I totally just warmed this up in my microwave, and a little bit of it is melty, but that's okay. Pop on your paddle attachment, and we're gonna mix this up until it is light and fluffy, medium speed, about 2 minutes. My butter is creamy, light, fluffy, and beautiful, so it's time to add cream cheese in. Cream cheese is one of my favorite ingredients, and 2 bricks or 16 ounces of room temperature cream cheese is gonna turn this frosting from like nice vanilla frosting into tangy, amazing cream cheese frosting. I love the pairing of this frosting because it gives you like a perfectly sweet, light chocolate vanilla cupcake paired with this tangy, creamy, incredible frosting that's not too sweet. We're gonna mix this up on medium until everything is well combined. I'm adding a generous pinch of salt, maybe 2 pinches actually. And I'm just gonna let it mix on medium speed for maybe 1 to 2 minutes. If things are clinging to your paddle attachment, just switch to high for 2 seconds. It'll swing it off. Ooh, look at that. Scrape the bowl down. Let's finish mixing that up on medium. I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla, the very last of my bottle. And we're ready for our confectioner sugar. We're gonna use about 6 cups, but it's up to you. You could use a little bit less and have a tangier frosting, or a little bit more and it's sweeter. The more sugar you add, the stiffer it'll be, so it'll keep its shape more if you're going crazy with the piping. I measured out 6 cups or 720 grams exactly, and it's nice and powdery, so I don't need to sift it. If you see lumps, go ahead and sift it out because that will be problematic if you're piping. Add this in 1 or 2 cups at a time, and we're gonna mix on low. It's gonna look crazy at first. Just trust the process. The sugar will slacken everything up and it'll become silky smooth in no time. Yeah, already it's so much better. Okay. Come take a look. Let's scrape the bowl down just to make sure everything's nice and mixed. You should scrape the bowl down at least once. All my sugar's in right now and this looks great, but towards the bottom, things are a bit funky. So scrape, 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 and then we'll just mix this up for another minute or 2 until it is smooth as silk. Once your cupcakes are cooled, grab your favorite piping tip. I'm using an 846 closed star tip, and we're just gonna pipe whatever you want. You could also just spoon the frosting right on top. I sacrificed one of the cupcakes that I swirled extra food coloring into, and I'm just going to make little tiny crumbs. It's actually better if this is stale, but no one wants a stale cupcake. I think the crumbs give it that signature red velvet look. Transform your cupcake into a sandwich and you're ready to enjoy. That is a delicious cupcake. You get the chocolate and vanilla in the cupcake, but the cream cheese frosting and that wonderful tanginess brings everything together. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe, and if you like this video, check out my cupcake playlist.